Na 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 moonlight, na 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 in the sky, na 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 you say, na 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 popcorn, na 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 moonlight, na 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 in the sky, na 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 you say, na 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 popcorn.
Baseball was proof positive that democracy was real. A baseball box score, after all, is a democratic thing. It doesn't say how big you are or what religion you follow. It does not follow how you voted or the color of your skin. It simply states what kind of ball player you were on any particular day. Guys, 42. How much do you love it?
Oh, I really liked it. This was the first time I saw it. I really liked it. I love the acting. Harrison Ford was great. Chadwick Boseman was great. It was really good. There's quite a bit of a few familiar faces in the film. For example, Alan Tudyk. He plays Ben Chapman. He was the racist Phillies coach. The racist Phillies manager. And that part, to me, was really weird watching that part because Alan Tudyk came out in a previous episode of the Slumpbuster, and that was when we reviewed Dodgeball. So as soon as I saw Alan Tudyk, I was like, oh God, Steve the Pirate is saying the N-word right now. I was like, what is this? But first time I seen it, I really liked it. What I really liked about the film was how the film went to the beginning of Jackie Robinson. How he was playing in the African American League because, back then things were segregated. And I just like the part that Harrison Ford, which is Rickey decides, you know what, like, I feel like at first he saw that there was more money in getting African-American baseball fans. And at the beginning of the film, you get the feeling that he only wants an African-American player so that he could get more money in the end. He could get more audience, more people tuning into baseball. But overall, as soon as he sees Jackie Robinson doing amazing and sees how the landscape is changing, he changes too. Like, it just completely switches his mind. What did you guys like about the film?
I agree with you. I thought the film was a fantastic movie. I know I've said it on the podcast before, I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I'll definitely watch it if there's a good game or, if some of the LA teams are playing, the West Coast teams are playing. But what I really like is, one, they sort of got into the baseball. You got to see a lot of, what goes on behind the scenes and, the dugout, what goes on behind the scenes in like actual baseball when you're going up to the plate, up to bat and all of that stuff. But I liked how realistic they were with the time frame, right? As you have people actually saying the N-word, right? And we're talking hard on the movie, and it's, coming from a white guy towards a black guy. And it's like, it sort of makes your skin crawl like, oh man, like don't say that, that's the one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, right? But it's how real it is. And then there's also the scenes where there's a guy literally being threatened with his life, right? Like he's receiving these death threats and you see him pull out this stack of letters. Sorry, I should say the owner, right, pulls out a stack of letters. So this is Rickey, pulls out all these letters and they're in huge manila folders of death threats that this black athlete was receiving, not because he blew a game, not because he got caught cheating, not, any of that stuff. Simply just because he was black playing in a white league, he was getting death threats. People were threatening him, his wife, his children. So it's really impactful, really powerful. And I think it's just a good movie for anybody to see. Just like, I think it helps you become a better human being watching that and realizing like, oh man, like all this stuff that these people went through in history and throughout history, it definitely gives, humbles you and makes you approach life sort of in a different way.
Yeah, you definitely heard as many hard R's as you would in any Quentin Tarantino movie. But, they had to do it. They had to be realistic to the time period. You guys are right with that one. It's always like a little weird when in a movie you do see like someone you look at as someone clearly not racist, like Steve the Pirate, dropping some hard N-bombs in there. You do have to kind of like, wait, he did, huh? And then you feel a little different for the next like 10 seconds after that one. But no, it was great at doing like all the realistic stuff that this guy had to deal with during the time frame. The death threats that Aundre mentioned, those are real. One thing that I'm glad that they kind of touched on too, because we always think about how would the opposing teams react? How would the reporters react? How would the crowds react? We kind of have a feeling of how that's going to happen. But what they hit on was how was his teammates going to react? When you first like look at how like Pee Wee Reese and all them had to like approach it, when you had the guys at spring training getting together, signing a petition to not play with him. And then their manager at the time, Leo DeRosa, has to like lay down the law and say, hey guys, you're playing with him regardless, or you're not playing. That's as simple as it is. You're not getting a paycheck if you don't go out there and perform. We're all here to play baseball. And I think that was one of the guiding principles behind why Jackie Robinson eventually got accepted into the sport and eventually was able to dominate like he did, because he was just a great talent. And you look at his lifetime batting average down there, you look at just everything he was doing, his speed, regardless if you think like that one reporter in the booth that he had a excess like heel bone or whatever. It's like that Bill Burr skit we watched, that Bill Burr skit I had you react to.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it did everything really well. I think that those are some of the bigger moments in the entire movie. And of course, if you want to talk about favorite movie moments right now, the main one, Pee Wee Reese going to him at first base in front of basically his hometown fans out there in Cincinnati, as he's originally a Kentucky-born resident, and standing next to him and basically saying, hey, one day everyone's going to wear 42. That way none of them can distinguish between us. And that's what we're seeing today. 42 is the only number that's been retired throughout all baseball, aside from the few years that Mariano Rivera, also a Hall of Famer, was able to wear it. And then 42 every year in April, which is going to be sad that we won't see due to the current situation, but players all across the league wear 42. And I think it's one of the greatest traditions in sports.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of powerful scenes in this film too. Like the one part that like hit me was the part where Rickey is just in his office and his assistant Harold comes in. And he's like furious, and he says he was pretty much going on a rant about like, how could people treat him this way? How could people just call him the N-word? How could they disrespect him? And then Rickey says, well, I remember when I brought this up, you were against it. So what happened? And he says, the assistant says, well, I don't know. And then Rickey says, yeah, you learn sympathy. And then he tells them about the Greek words of sympathy. And then he mentions Philadelphia as a Greek word of brotherly love. That part was just awesome, because like not only was he changing the league, but he was changing the team and the owners and the assistants. He was changing everything just by the way he was playing and just by how brave he was too.
Yeah, and another scene that was really impactful to me, similar to what you're saying, C-Money, is when Rickey tells him, like, hey, you know, I saw a little white boy rubbing his hands with dirt just like you do, Jackie, right? And wearing a number 42 jersey. And at that time, it was unheard of, right? Is you don't have white people wishing that they were a black person, right? Like, because nobody would have wanted that. And so that just shows you how transformative and how transcendent Jackie Robinson was. Not only is he a sports icon, right, and definitely a Hall of Famer. I mean, he won Rookie of the Year his first year there. You know, they ended up winning a World Series in 55. But as a civil rights sort of image of what the civil rights movement was all about, right, as that sort of, hey, I'm going to break ground and show you, right, that we're all the same. And I'm going to take, you know, the punishment that these fans give me and the other players, right, that would hit them with balls and all of that stuff, and say, hey, I'm going to, you know, not fight back. I'm going to, you know, keep my temper in check just so I can be an icon to not just the black community, but everybody around the world.
For the record, this is the only time ever that I will celebrate the Dodgers. But that, you know, you got to give it to Branch Rickey, his decision to bring Jackie Robinson into his organization when, you know, no one was going to do it. No one was willing to be the first person to stick their neck out and sign a black ball player. And regardless if necessarily he was doing it for the right reasons, because he did mention, hey, this isn't a black or white issue. This is a green issue. Money's green. Doesn't matter where it's coming from. That was, I believe, the quote from the movie. It got the job done. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily matter the motives for why something good happens, but you can find the like silver lining later on after it happens. And without Jackie Robinson, some of these other guys wouldn't even get a chance. And like I said, it's not just a baseball thing. This goes for every other sport that was scared to take that first step, to jump into the deep end, because the backlash that you would face at the time. I mean, you saw it pictured in the movie, and I'm sure for everything we saw in the movie, he probably was honestly getting it 10 times worse in real life, if we're being real.
Oh, yeah. Dude, imagine the death threats that Jackie Robinson was getting back in the day. And back in the day, like, people were ruthless. Like, not too long before this, it was let's see, because this movie happened in the 40s, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it does that real quick though. It does bring me to one of the funnier moments though, where he's getting shoved into the car by like the assistant or the reporter. Sorry,
I was about to mention this part too. I thought this part was hilarious also.
And he was like, "What's the reason? What's this?" So he's like, "Oh, you're getting death threats." It's like, "Oh, I thought I was getting cut from the team." They'd all just like laugh about it.
That part was hilarious. What I liked that Chadwick Boseman showed in the film. If you don't know who that is, he's Black Panther.
Black Panther. He's T'Challa, man.
What I liked that he showed about Jackie Robinson was Jackie Robinson, from what I could tell, was the type that you could get to him, but he will prove you wrong and he will make you look dumb. Like the scene where the pitcher kept trying to get him on a strike and it wasn't working, and he just pretty much outmaneuvered the pitcher because he just kept getting balls, and then he kept itching closer and closer through the bases. That scene was just so funny. And then of course the pitcher drops the ball and it's an instant ball, so he just walks and scores without even hitting the ball. That part was just so good, how he just outmaneuvered the pitcher. All right, guys, so what would you all rate this film?
Well, I guess, it's tough because I try not to give home runs to like everything, because I feel if you give like a home run to everything, then you're basically saying it's a perfect movie. They could do nothing right after that. Mm-hmm. But this one I have to cave. It's a home run because I think it's an important movie. It's a movie that needed to be out there because Jackie Robinson's memory, it's just one of those things that we just have to keep living on. We got to keep that memory alive. So I'm happy that they put it out there. I'm happy that Chadwick Boseman did such a great performance. Even like Harrison Ford did a great job.
Yeah.
His wife did a fantastic job. So yeah, it's a home run. Knocked out of the park.
Yep, I agree. I think they knocked it out of the park. I do have little gripes with the movie, right, is like some of the child actors that they had, like Ed Charles, the child actor that portrayed Ed Charles. I was like, the acting isn't that great, but what can you expect from childhood actors? And so with that, I'm not going to dock the movie too much. Like Juju said, it's an incredibly important film. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. We're all stuck in quarantine, so it'll give you something to do, but it's a home run for me.
Yeah, it's a home run for me. Unfortunately, I feel like I've given too many home runs, but this one's definitely the most important. To me, this film is a lot like Glory Road. I love Glory Road. And in my last review, I gave that one a home run. So I'm going to give it a home run. And Juju, I have to talk to you about something. We have to start reviewing crappy movies, crappy sports movies.
We got to, because we just keep reviewing the best. We're going to run out of good movies here pretty soon. But,
exactly.
Come on, we have like 50 years of movies, of sports movies out there. I'm sure we could pull out some good ones. So if you want to keep up with our latest Get Your Popcorn series, go check it out on our YouTube channel. Like C Money said, we have Glory Road up there. We have movies like Dodgeball, Major League, Sandlot, all that good stuff. Go ahead and check that out on our YouTube channel. Subscribe for that.